Thanks, bud. Thanks. Hi, Rhema. It's week 44, day 3 of our Bible narrative reading plan. Today we are in Luke chapter 23. Yesterday we saw Jesus on trial before the religious leaders. Today's reading focuses on Jesus being tried before the political leaders. You remember that the Jewish trial during the night was technically illegal, and yet God is using this for his own purposes. We see here in Luke 23 a summary of what happens with the political trial. Verse 1 of chapter 23, then the whole company of them arose and brought him before Pilate. Pilate would be a Roman leader, a political leader. He's not involved with these Jewish quarrels, so here's different charges. In the Jewish trial, they're trying to convict him of blasphemy. But even if they convict him of blasphemy, they don't have the ability to execute Jesus. They're not allowed to because they're subject to the Roman authorities. So they have to send Jesus to the Roman authorities so that the Romans will convict and execute Jesus. So listen to the charge in 23 verse 2. We found this man misleading our nation and forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar, and saying that he himself is Christ, a king. Notice what they're doing. They're twisting and manipulating what Jesus has taught. He hasn't quite done what they say that he's done. He is claiming to be Christ. He is a political ruler. He's ruler over all. And yet they're saying this as if he's starting a political revolution, a political insurrection. And so Pilate is listening to these charges. But then when Pilate hears all of this, they hear that he's from Galilee. And Pilate says, oh, maybe this is my outing. I can send him to the jurisdiction of the Galilean jurisdiction. And so he sends him to Herod. Herod happened to be in Jerusalem at this time. And so this is Herod Antipas, the same Herod who executed John the Baptist, the same Herod who was amused by John the Baptist and intrigued by the teaching and preaching of John the Baptist. And here he's actually a little bit excited to hear Jesus. He's hoped to hear Jesus, but not because he becomes a believer. He's just intrigued by all of these things. And notice that this political back and forth with Jesus actually unites Herod and Pilate. They actually become friends over this situation. They've been political enemies, but executing the King of Kings and Lord of Lords brings them together in their sin. Now, Pilate is interested in actually hearing whether or not Jesus has done anything wrong. Remember, he's gone to Pilate, to Herod, back to Pilate. And Pilate says, I have not found any fault in this man. Herod did not find any fault in this man. Look, we'll beat him and then we'll release him. He thinks that'll make them happy just for Jesus to be beaten. But the people cry out. They say, no. We don't want him released. Release Barabbas. Now, Barabbas is an actual criminal. He's a violent, terrible criminal. But they have the freedom to have one man released, and they choose to release Barabbas instead of Jesus. And Pilate cries out, why? What has he done? He hasn't done anything to deserve death. And yet the people continue. Their voices prevailed. Pilate gives in to political pressure. He released the man, verse 25, who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder. That's whom they asked. And he delivered Jesus over to their will. The King of Kings and Lord of Lords is being executed. He's being found guilty in a false trial. But God is using all of this for his purposes. God is working even through political leaders who do not believe in him. Here's a summary of today's reading. For more information, go to tunemyheart.org.